minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
It's the Rocket Hour. Y'all are now tuned in. Time to hit the pick four that you'd love to win. If your money's coming slow, step on the faster track with your host, Ricky Pasternak. Let's go.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Hour. We have a lot to get to today. We got Oaklawn Park that we're going to be covering. We got some stakes races that we're going to be covering as well. So, and then we're going to do some bracket stuff. Obviously, that's what kind of everyone kind of focused on. So we'll make sure we do that as well. So we're going to get right into it. There's Mr. Halterman with his Oklahoma sweatshirt on. I have my Syracuse sweatshirt on. I'm not trying to cut him off. We just have a lot to get to. We're just going to roll right into it. We're going to start with our Close Shave Rocket launch, brought to you by Manscaped. Support for the Rocket Hours brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. We have an exclusive offer for everyone listening today, 20% off with free shipping with the code Rocket20 at manscaped.com. So again, like I said yesterday, we're now officially into the weekend. March Madness starts today. If you guys are going to go out, watch a game, you just want to make sure you're trimmed up, men and ladies, anyone, any size, any age. Make sure you want to be trimmed and groomed and ready to go. Aaron, we're going to do all of the stakes races from the fairgrounds, and we're going to start in race one. We're going to the fairgrounds was kind enough to start the card with the Crescent City Oaks. We have a field of 6, but it looks like it might be a field of 1 based on the way this race is shaped up. Is anyone going to beat Australasia?
I don't see how. I think this is an easy single to start off, whatever you're going to play here. I guess the pick 5 would be what you'd start off here. I think this is a free square. I think this is the best, I wouldn't say the best bet, obviously, because the price is going to be very short, but it's the most likely winner in the whole country on Saturday right here. So yeah, the 2 for me, Australasia, get home, pretty easy victory, I'm assuming.
Yeah, Australasia, the Brad Cox runner. She really shouldn't be running against this group, to be honest. She hasn't won a race by less than 6 lengths. I'm kind of shocked to see her show up here, but kind of seems like it's just a check that Brad Cox is going to pick up. She should win by a lot. We're going to fast forward to all the way to race number 8. They don't have any stakes races from race 1 to race 8, so I guess that's kind of a get-in race, get some excitement, or what I like to call 30. We're going to fast forward now all the way to race number 8. Yeah, it might be a really quick race. The Costa Rising Stakes. For 3-year-olds and upward, we have another decent field. We got 14. I can't fit everyone on the one screen, so we'll start with the top 8 here. Aaron, I thought this was a pretty wide open race. I thought there were a lot of ways you can go. Obviously, No Parole comes in at 8-5, but No Parole will be making the turf debut. So do you think the turf would be an issue for No Parole, or is No Parole just more talented and the surface shouldn't really matter?
I don't think the surface will be a huge problem for No Parole, but, first time trying it at, like you just mentioned, a full field of 14. A lot of these are very experienced on the turf. I am going to take a shot against as far as on top. I went with number 6, Monty Man on top. This horse doesn't try turf all that often, but when he does, he usually wins. He's won his last 2 races on the turf, including last time out. At this distance in an allowance race here at Fairgrounds, and won by a head. This is a horse that kind of likes to stalk the pace, and I think so he can keep No Parole within range. I would think No Parole is going to get the lead, and hopefully for my sake, run him down late. So I went number 6, Monty Man on top in this one.
Yeah, I went with No Parole. I think the surface isn't an issue because of the speed. And in terms of the distance, if this was a turf route, I'd be a lot more concerned. But No Parole is extremely quick, should be on the lead. The one horse that, and I'll scroll down now, that you didn't touch on is Birdie's Galaxy. I think Birdie's Galaxy might be able to sit the perfect trip kind of right behind No Parole. I think showing some speed from the outside should help. The last time Birdie's Galaxy, was on the dirt, on the turf, and it was in a Louisiana bred allowance race. It wasn't great. But I do think Irad Ortiz getting aboard here should tell us something about this horse. So I'm kind of interested in the 14 Birdie's Galaxy. Let's move on to race number 9, another jam-packed field. Not quite as packed. We're going to go down to a field of 13. It's the Crescent City Derby for 3-year-olds, for Louisiana bred 3-year-olds. We entered this spot with the 2 Who Took the Money for Brett Calhoun. At 5-2, we got some other prices unanimously at 5-1, and the inside runner Highland Creek for Adam Beschizza and Brett Calhoun as well. Who did you like in this spot in race 9?
Yeah, I took a little shot against the favorite. I went with the 5-1 unanimously, the 7 horse, winner of 2 races in a row. The Steve Asmussen always has success down here at the fairgrounds, and I just think this horse is the right price. If we can get 5-1, I'll take it all day long. I wouldn't blame anybody for taking Who Took the Money. That horse has looked awfully good in 2 races. But the one thing I know about Louisiana breds, they can be a little bit inconsistent. So maybe the 7 can kind of sneak up and beat the 2 here.
Yeah, for me, I did use the 2 on top, and then I used the 7. But one horse I do want to talk about a little bit is the 13 Martinize for Marcelino Pedroza, who's going to be aboard. I think this horse is going to be sitting but probably mid-pack, and Who Took the Money is probably going to be extremely close to last. I think a horse like Highland Creek's going to go, but there looks like there's going to be a decent amount of speed in this race, so I kind of said I'll take Highland Creek and then a bunch of closers, and that's kind of where you unanimously fell and Who Took the Money. I think Martinize is going to get a little bit better of a spot and not be as far back, so I'm looking at a horse like Martinize, looked pretty good here in 2021 on the dirt. Just broke the maiden last time out, but did so pretty easily. Something looks like might be clicking for Martinize. So that's a horse that I was intrigued with. Let's move on to the next race, the Tom Benson Memorial Stakes for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and upward, going a mile and a 16th on the turf. Again, another jam-packed field. We're coming in here with 13. You got some short prices. Delica, we know what Delica is for Al Stahl, 3-1. That looks like going to be the morning line favorite and probably should be the favorite at post time. Are you putting Delica on top, or are you going to try to look to beat Delica?
Yeah, boy, now we really get into a lot of fun. These are the really good races. Well, not that those other ones weren't. They are good races, but this is the higher quality horses. We'll start right here. I put number 2 Dominga on top for Brad Cox, Florent Giroux, obviously a great combo. First time out as a 4-year-old. I'm expecting improvement from this horse. Wasn't bad last year. I think this is a really, good spot. It's a confident spot to put this horse in, to go right to a stakes immediately off the layoff here. So number 2 Dominga for me, but I'm going to go price hunting. I like number 4 Logic and Reason at 10-1 quite a bit. And I like the 6, and this was Jared's top pick on Blinkers Off last night. The 6, Temple City Terror, is a horse. I agree with him. I didn't put that horse on top, but I think she has a shot to pull an upset. So I'm going to play those 3 with Delica, who I agree should be the favorite, but I think is a beatable one in here.
So Aaron's going to go with the 3, 4, and the sorry. Well, you're going to use Dominga as well, so I forgot to include Dominga. So he's looking at the 2, 3, 4, and 6 in some sort of order or form or fashion. One horse you didn't include, and that's the 12, Catch a Bid. I really, really like this horse. I think Catch a Bid is not going to probably be on the lead, but sit in that perfect spot. Luis Saez is going to come in to ride. Catch a Bid has had Javier Castellano, Irad Ortiz, Tyler G. Just had Miguel Mena in the one race at Sam Houston. This horse is interesting because Catch a Bid doesn't win often. And what I mean by that is just 3 wins in the career and not having won since June 14th. But I kind of feel like just consistency for me. I do think this is a wide open event. I do like her in this spot, but I think it would take a pretty big effort to beat her. I did use Temple City Terror as well. I didn't use Dominga and Logic and Reason. I personally just don't think they're quite as good. I do think Dominga would have to take a big step up, but who should really doubt Florent Giroux and Brad Cox. I guess that would be me. But I'm going to take a shot there. I think this is a spot where you could try to test that duo. Let's move on to the New Orleans Classic Stakes, Grade 2, Race 11. Got older boys here, as I like to say. We kind of know what these horses are. Owendale, the morning line favorite at 9-5. Roadster comes in with Johnny Velasquez and Michael Stidham at 3-1. An interesting thing about Roadster, going to make the first start since March 7th of last year. We have not seen Roadster in close to, I think, 378 days. Are you going to try to take a shot with a horse like that, or are you just going to use Owendale and try to get by? I don't love this field. None of these horses seem to win all that much.
Well, you know, I last week we talked about the Essex at Oaklawn, which is similar to this race, obviously, and I loved Silver State. I mean, I love that horse. Here, oh man, I got to tell you, I don't like any of these horses at all. I'm going to go deep here, but on top, and I might be crazy, I went with the number 3, Oli, My Boy. This horse is kind of a new shooter as far as being in this kind of competition. It's certainly a jump up in class, but like I said on Bleakers Off last night, it's a jump up in class, but I don't like the horses that are in here. So is it really that big of a jump? It's not really, right? And so I think Oli, My Boy, has won 2 races in a row. He's the right price at 12-1. I'm just going to take a swing here with him on top. I will play Owendale. I will play Enforceable. I will probably play Sonneman as well. These are horses that at times have ran races that can win here for sure. But I just don't want to take those horses as far as a win wager at a short price, especially Owendale. And I'm admitting Owendale could win. Is he the most likely winner? I mean, maybe, but he's probably going to be like 7-5.
Yeah, for me personally, I think Owendale is kind of a standout. And if we're willing to throw, which I guess I am, if I'm willing to throw the Razorback over a sloppy track, he's done pretty well and probably where he should have been. The only time that he was bad was the Pimlico Special at 3-5, but he was 6-1 in the Clark, lost it by 2 to Bodie Express and Code of Honor, horses that are better. The Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, 5 by 5.25. The Knicks Go and Jesus' team, 2 horses that are going to run, that are running overseas. I kind of just think he's better, but it's hard, it's hard to trust any of these horses. He hasn't won since May 23rd at Churchill Downs. But I think he's just faced better. He's one of those at the top level. He's like an A-. And when you drop him into a spot like this, he's like an A+++. So I think it's all about where he fits. And I think Sonneman's been pretty consistent. I mean, it's kind of similar. If you throw the race against Maxfield out, Sonneman's been pretty good. I don't think we're going to sit here and criticize Maxfield just because the way he ran in the big cap. I think that was 2 weeks ago now, or we're going to be approaching 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's fair because Maxfield would beat this field, and I don't really think it would be that close. Oh, yeah. So I went short. I know you went a little bit longer. I went short here, and I just said the 2 and the 8. I don't think it would take a massive effort to beat any of these. And Ollie, My Boy, I'll be honest, I didn't like Ollie, My Boy, but an Enforceable, or maybe like a Chess Chief runs his best race. But this field, we kind of know what they are at this point.
It's interesting because Jared went short here too. So you guys are on the same page. So I think it's a horrible race as far as how these horses are going to do when they move up or next time out. But it's an interesting race for what it is on Saturday, which is a pretty good betting race. And horses, I mean, it seems like a clear decision. You either take Owendale and maybe one more like you've done and move on, or you try to spread. So I think it's a pivotal race in the sequence.
Yeah, and I don't think you're going to get any crazy prices on any of the horses you just mentioned, which then leads me to believe I'm not going to get any value. Moving on to the race that I think has the best name on the day, the Muniz Memorial Classic Stakes. I love it. 4-year-olds and upward. This is real quick. This is the race that I went long in. I thought you can go a lot of ways. Aaron, which way did you go on top? There is a 4-1 Brad Cox horse that looks pretty good from the rail, but I think you can go a lot of different directions.
Man, you and Jared are like in each other's head, I feel like, because what you did and what he did is exactly the same thing. He is going long here, and here I am going short. I just don't know how they're going to beat Colonel Liam if he keeps running back to those races, or back to that last race, and really the last two. I don't know. I look at this field and say his top challengers, he beat them pretty soundly last time out in the Pegasus World Cup turf. They say this horse has been training like a monster. So I went short here. I thought Colonel Liam looked really, really good. I'll probably play him with Cross Border and try to move on like that. But yeah, I'm all over the 5 Colonel Liam here.
This is interesting because Colonel Liam always has to come from well out of it. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. I mean, these horses are good enough to do that, but it always scares me when I have to rely on a horse that's going to be coming from well out of it when I don't see a ton of speed. Yeah. So what did I do? I used horses that are going to be on the front end along with Colonel Liam. I used Factor This, who's extremely inconsistent. The last time we saw him run well was in the Dinner Party Stakes back at Pimlico. But I also threw in the 6, Logical Myth. I think this horse could be forwardly placed. If you want to talk about consistency, Logical Myth just runs first or second every race, having done that since July 27th of last year. One horse that I didn't throw in also, how about Pixelate? Pixelate ran in the Pegasus turf and didn't lose by that much to Colonel Liam. He probably will have to run a better race, but I wouldn't be surprised if Luis Saez puts this horse a little bit just a touch closer than maybe we've seen in the past. Again, I'm going 6 deep, so I think this is the one where I can get value. I think you can get legitimate value here, and I think if you're betting Colonel Liam at 5-2 as a favorite, I'm pretty sure that's not a good bet. Dennis, we see your comments. Unfortunately, we just got to go really, really quick.
I do want to comment on this one real quick. Dennis, I don't hate that pick at all. I've always low-key liked that horse. I always root for English Channel, who stands at Calumet Farm. I'm with you. I don't know if that horse is quite good enough at this distance to beat some of these, but that horse is a hard knocker. So I'm not gonna discount that pick at all. Yeah,
for me, the Spooky Channel, to Aaron's point, just not good enough. I don't think Spooky Channel is good enough here. Yeah. But I mean, not a bad horse. I don't think that's what I'm not saying. It's a bad horse and it's a horrible play. I just think to beat a horse like Colonel Liam, Spooky Channel would have to run probably 2 times better of a race than Spooky Channel's ever run to this point. Let's go to the 13th race. Yes, a lot of races at Fairgrounds on Saturday. The Fairground Oaks Grade 2 going 1 mile and a 16th. Aaron, it kind of looks like a 2-horse race on paper. But I think there are few that are maybe stepping up into this class for the first time. Maybe going to try a stakes race for the first time. Are you going to go short with Clairiere and Travel Column, or are you going to try to beat either one of those?
Okay, so I went with Travel Column on top. I think this horse rebounds, runs a big race. I don't know. I just feel like, even though she lost, I feel like she's the best. She's the better horse than Clairiere. I really do. And then, of course, 2 races back, she did beat Clairiere. I love this rivalry. I hope it's these two head and head again. I think that would be a lot of fun. So I'll use the 8 Travel Column on top. I'll use the 6 Clairiere. I think the 4 little Tootsie is a horse with a dumb name, but I think this horse is pretty good. And I think getting Luis Saez aboard, who jumps off the Pletcher horse to ride this one, is a very interesting thing. 2 in a row over this track. I think if anybody's going to upset him, I think it's the 4. But for me, I'm going to stick with Travel Column on top.
So I went the other way. I used Clairiere, but I also did include Lil Tootsie. I can't do anything with this race from a pick 4 standpoint, because I think you'd have to be pretty gutsy to go against Clairiere or Travel Column. But I do think Lil Tootsie is worth the ad. So it comes to one of those points. Do you just hope Lil Tootsie is not good enough and just use Clairiere or Travel Column, or do you want to go 3 deep? I went 3 deep. I'm not happy about it. Maybe things will change. Wouldn't mind a scratch or 2, to be honest, just to help me out. But yeah. I went 4, 6, 8. It's a really, really bad race for me, because they're all going to be short prices. And if I lose, it's going to be a bomb, just an absolute bomb in this spot. I know Dr. Miranda a little bit talked about, I think a little bit about the 3, Super Sensational. I don't know why. But then she did talk about the 5 a little bit, Obligatory. I could kind of see that one. And maybe Obligatory is going to get better in the 2021 campaign. Let's go to another race that I think is extremely, extremely close, the Louisiana Derby, the final race of the day. Credit to Fairgrounds for putting this card together. All right, Aaron, 8-5 on Mandaloun, the morning line favorite. That's Brad Cox, Flo Giroux. But there are a lot of horses that have run here. Midnight Bourbon has beaten this horse before. Proxy hasn't beaten either of those two, but has run second. So it's a little Oreo sandwich, as I like to say, just kind of running in the middle. Are you going to try to step out on the leg and beat either one of these horses? What are we doing here in the Louisiana Derby?
I've never heard that phrase before, so that is hilarious. Well, when it comes to horse racing anyway, so that is hilarious.
Well, it's weird. It doesn't usually happen where you see a horse just consistently run second to a horse that ran first and ran third. It's very rare. It's very, very rare.
Yeah, well, I really wanted to pick that Mr. Oreo sandwich there, but I went against. Proxy feels to me like two things. This the type of horse that just cannot figure it out, just can't finish the deal. And in the other respect, he seems to be kind of the wise guy horse that everybody's picking in this race. It's like, yeah, I don't want to be on that one. So I went back to Mandaloun. I don't know. I just think Brad Cox has this horse right. The blinkers really helped. I kind of felt like he separated himself just a bit from these other two horses that he's been banging heads with. Yeah, that was a pretty clear and decisive win in the Risen Star. So I'll go right back to Mandaloun. I'm really, really interested in Hot Rod Charlie, as Samich throws me off there with that comment. And I'm really interested to see what Hot Rod Charlie does, how he matches up here. And I think Proxy will be right there as well. But Mandaloun on top for me.
Yeah, Mike Samich comes in with Star in My Dreams. I mean, at least for Star in My Dreams, there is a potential for a pace meltdown. So I think that would be the best way you can go about it. I'm not using Star in My Dreams, but who knows? Maybe it melts down. Dennis says technically Proxy did beat both of them, just not at the same time. Yeah, you're not wrong, but unfortunately in horse racing, we need you to finish first to cash tickets at the pick 4, pick 5 level. That's going to do it for these stakes races. We spent a lot of time on it, but we just got to fast forward. That was the close shave rocket launch.
But hold on, who did you pick? Who did you pick to win?
Sorry. I thought I said Mandaloun. I apologize.
Okay.
I did use Mandaloun, and I would use Midnight Bourbon in second, and I think I'm going to just stick with those two. I kind of like Proxy to me is like a 93, and then Midnight Bourbon or Mandaloun can run like a 95, 96. Not Bayer. I'm just saying like grade, like 1 to 100. I'm just using it on the grading system.
I gotcha, yeah.
So Proxy's like, I know what Proxy is, but I'm not sure if he's actually good enough. So I prefer to use the horses that I've already seen beat each other. But, I mean, if you want to go a little bit deeper, I think 4, 6, 7 is enough. I'm not interested in Hot Rod Charlie at all. No, not interested at all. I think I'm good here. But again, unfortunately, we do have to move on to Oaklawn, and then we have a whole bracket segment we're going to do. That was a Close Shave Rocket launch brought to you by Manscaped using the code ROCKET20. Check that out at manscaped.com. I feel like I'm just on spin cycle here. We're just going to roll through it really, really quick. I tried to warn everyone yesterday that this is the way it was going to go. Everyone, please tune in, chime in now with your Oaklawn entries. We are not going to have scratches and changes, unfortunately, beforehand. I think Nancy Holt has put out a few yesterday if you're interested in those, but we're probably not going to have any official on Equibase before we start. I will scroll our tickets at the bottom. Aaron's going with his single race wagers, as he usually does. He's only given us 2 pick 4 tickets, only 2. I think in the history of this is our 40th episode. Aaron, I'll start with you in race 6. His waiver claiming 40,000 through 35,000, for 3-year-olds and upward, going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Which way did you go here? I thought this was a pretty wide open race to kick it off.
I think you could say that about pretty much every race we're going to talk about. This is kind of a freaking mess of a 4-race sequence. So I do think there's money to be made. I think a lot of these races set up really well for trifectas. And so that's what I did to start it off with. I went with a 50-cent trifecta box, 3, 4, 6, and 8 to kick us off. My top pick in here was Where'd I go? There he is. The 3. I think the 3 Crypto Cash is a horse that I'm very interested in shipping in from the fairgrounds. Last time out, we saw this horse in an allowance race. Look who beat him. Ole, my boy, who I'm picking at fairgrounds. So I thought I'll go right back with the 6 to 1 shot Crypto Cash. Gets a class drop. That's big. Gets a cutback in distance, and you look, it's like this horse has never been at 6 furlongs. We've never seen this horse at 6 furlongs. But then you look at the breeding, and it's like, well, by Majestic Perfection, one of the fastest 6 furlong horses I've ever seen. So cutback in distance, changing to Oaklawn, dropping class. There's enough there for me. And Arietta, the jockey, picks up the mount, and Arietta is having a great meet at Oaklawn. So a lot of positives for me. I put the 3 on top. I see that you used the 3-8, so I'll let you talk about the 8. I will talk real quick about the 6. And this is kind of a round out the trifecta type of play. If I was doing what you were doing, I wouldn't use the 6. But Mo's Mojo hits the board a lot in these types of races. Randy Morris is kind of if you look at the stats, you're going to say, yeah, I don't think Randy Morris is that good. He's not as bad as his stats. He runs a lot of horses, in my opinion, over their heads at times. I think he's got this horse about right. So Mo's Mojo, kind of the price horse, I think can jump up and hit the board. But anyway, I'll let you talk about those two. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I put the 6 that you're talking about in 4th, I believe. So we're not completely off base there. I'm not not using. I don't think that horse is disgusting. But I did think the 8 Candy Cornell was just better. Running races in Kentucky, they're better than this. I know you're Oaklawn through and through, but unfortunately, I'm gonna have to rank the Churchill Downs races a little bit ahead of these Arkansas, and that's fine. A lot of those horses actually run here. It's weird. Crypto Cash also hasn't really run at Oaklawn, just once, and that was in the Arkansas Derby, and he may or may not have finished that race. And the 8 Candy Cornell has had some success doing it last year over this track. I just think that he's the most likely winner, and I thought the 3 Crypto Cash was interesting. I think the 8 just outclasses this group, has enough tactical speed, should win. Again, I don't look at the 6 as a win candidate. For the 6, I think 4th was about right and maybe can spice up the try. I don't think, again, a win candidate wouldn't help me out. If you can't win at the waiver claiming 20,000 level, non-winners of 3 lifetime, you're not going to beat a horse like the 8. If the 8 was running in those types of races, the 8 would have 10 wins on the resume. So in my book. So I think the 3 and 8 are enough to get by. Before we move on, I'll talk about the 4 a little bit. Energizer lost to Hidden Scroll last time out. Hidden Scroll might be the most frustrating or the most lovable horse, depending on if you like betting against him or for him. I think that's kind of up to everyone's determination. But he does have some races that make sense. Does have 2 races at Oaklawn. The last one was February 29th of last year. Steve Asmussen, Ricardo Santana. This is a pretty decent race overall. To Aaron's point, I think that things do get a little bit muddier as we move forward. I'm seeing this one pretty clearly in my book, 3 and 8. Well, anyone else you want to touch on real quick?
No, yeah, the 4 was the other one I used. Like I said, 3, 4, 6, 8 is what I used. And you're right. And Hidden Scroll would probably beat this field by 20. So, you kind of just take that for what it was last time out. I think they're just dropping this horse to try to get a win. So I'm with you. Yeah, 3, 4, 6, 8. I think we're pretty much on the same ones here.
Yeah, and then exactly. And I believe the Asmussen, that type of duo, basically what we're going through, I think it's a play against. And I know 3 to 1 morning line, I'll be willing to play against that horse. I like the 3 a lot more. Let's move on to the 7th race, the waiver claiming 30,000 through 25,000 for 3-year-olds and upward, going 1 1/16 miles on the dirt. I thought things got very, very interesting here. I'll talk about, I'm looking at your ticket here, and you went with the win wager on a horse that I did use, so I'm not going to talk about that one. I'll start with the 10 first rate. This is my type of horse. No, excuse me. Let me scroll down the entries so you guys can see it. Sorry about that. this is a bigger field, so we'll just start up here and I'll get to the rest of them. The 10 first rate, I'll be honest, just it's one of those consistent horses. And Mike Maker doesn't run a ton at Oaklawn. Like, it only has 26 when I downloaded these, which were a few days ago. 26 starts. He's finishing the money 14 times. And I think Ramon Vasquez, very, very different rider. Kind of knows Oaklawn through and through. The last one was Martine Garcia. With this horse is just interesting. I don't really like. I never really like him to win, but I always feel bad when I don't leave him. Like, I just don't want to be that the one time. I think 6-1 is actually a fair price. So I would, anytime I can get Mike Maker 6-1 at a track that he's not well known at, I'm all in. And maybe he's not a win guy, but I'll put him in my second spot. Let's talk about the 11, Jack's Fireballs. Jack's Fireballs was absolutely dreadful in his entire career, but got better towards the end of 2020. I'm not sure what kicked in. Had a race at Prairie Meadows over the summer, Churchill Downs, at the low-level maiden claiming ranks, and then breaks the maiden. Took, I think that was the 10th start. Was 0 for 9, wins, and almost wins again. Now coming in gelded, I don't know what that means, but I do know that Thomas Van Berg is winning at 17%, and Francisco Arrieta is a fantastic rider. I would love to see Francisco Arrieta go to Kentucky. I've been kind of on that. I don't think he's ever done that. So if he does, that would be like my type of rider to keep an eye on. It's kind of like when Tyler Gaffalione first went to Saratoga, and a lot of people didn't know, and then Tyler became really, really well known, and he's known everywhere. I'd love to see him get a shot at Kentucky. I don't know if he will or not, but I would love to see it. This is interesting. The 12, I guess it's Vasariano. I'll go with Vasariano as the name. I hope I got that right. This horse finished behind Jack's Fireballs last time out. So if I like Jack's Fireballs at 9-2, do I have to love Vasariano with Ricardo Santana? Maybe, maybe not. But again, it's just the Asmussen thing, right? Asmussen owns and trains this horse. If he didn't own the horse, I probably wouldn't think as highly of him. But he's trying to get this horse in the right spot for his own personal gain. Ricardo Santana obviously gets the mount. He is the main guy for Steve Asmussen. So I went 10, 11, 12. I did use the one other horse that I'll let Aaron kind of dive into because that is his win wager. And that's the 4, I believe, Wild Union.
Yeah, so you missed a perfect time for a joke. Jack's Fireballs has been gelded.
Oh, yeah. I'm all over the place. I should have said Jack's Fireballs got hot because he started using the Manscaped product.
Yeah, exactly. There were so many things you could have done with Jack's Fireballs.
I'm all over the place.
He's just Jack's Fire now. He has no balls, so he's the only person out there that doesn't need Manscaped because he doesn't have anything to shave anymore. Exactly. All right, yeah. We use similar horses. Those horses that you talked about were in my top 4, and thank you for not talking about Wild Union since you saw it was my win wager. For me, I think this race is a really wide open affair. I mean, I think it is a good race to play a try, but I think the probability of hitting the try isn't great for me, and that's why I went with the win wager. So I went number 4, Wild Union, $5 to win here. I love the 8-1 price. First time out, Peter Miller. I mean, that's going to be the big reason why I put the 4 on top. This horse, if you look back this time last year and then maybe just a little bit past this time last year, was running in tough maiden special weights and just could not finish the deal. Just, seconds and thirds and losing by a neck. But I mean, look at the horses that beat this horse. Major Fed, Mr. Big News. I mean, really good horses. Mr. Big News ran 3rd in the Kentucky Derby and beat this horse by a nose last year. This horse has talent. I don't know what the deal is, but Peter Miller, first off the claim, I just kind of have a feeling that Wild Union's going to run on improved race today. So I'm going to just take a shot, $5 to win on the 4 Wild Union, and just kind of hope to basically bankroll the other trifectas that I'm playing with a win wager here.
Yeah, I did like that horse as well, and I'll kind of dive into why just a little bit. With this horse, Wild Union, I think the Peter Miller thing going from Brad Cox isn't actually a bad move. And what I mean by that is Peter Miller has done a pretty good job here at Oaklawn. Brad Cox obviously does as well. But I think Brad Cox has a lot bigger fish to fry when he comes to Oaklawn. Like, his intentions are much greater than Peter Miller.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if Peter Miller's on the grounds or if it's an assistant. I have no idea. But nonetheless, if it is an assistant, I'm sure it's a well-trusted assistant, it's also, if he is here, he doesn't have that many horses, so he could really dive into these. And I think this is one of those horses in my book that he does belong here, but it's like, for Brad Cox, it's like, I don't need this horse. Like, and Peter Miller is like, all right, I'll take him over and I'll keep him here. And this looks like one of those horses that's probably never going to come out west, probably not good enough, probably shipped to Indiana Grand, or maybe a lower level Churchill Downs, broke the maiden at Churchill Downs. So I thought that was interesting. Sometimes a barn switch, even when it's like a Brad Cox, it's like, it's not bad. And I don't think this horse is not talented. I think at 8-1, it's a fantastic price. Let's also look, the two-star, he broke the maiden at a much tougher level. If he runs that race, he's going to beat this field.
Mm-hmm.
Then goes to the turf. Let's throw that out. And then sprints on the dirt. I don't know why we wouldn't keep him going 2 turns on the dirt. Again, I'm not a rocket scientist, but it kind of seems like that is a logical move. So I am interested in the 4. I think the 4 has got a really legitimate shot at 8-1. I'm with Aaron. Let's move on to the 8th race. Allowance optional claiming $40,000 for 4-year-olds and upward, going 1 mile on the dirt. I'm using 5 horses here, but it's Aaron's turn. Aaron, we're going to throw it to you. Race 8. I see you're using 4 horses, all of which I'm using as well. So kind of walk me through them a little bit and see what. Tell me what you were looking at.
Yeah, I'll cover the top 2 here. So I win a 50-cent trifecta box, 4, 6, 7, and 9. So 4, 6, 7, and 9, 50-cent trifecta box. I thought it set up really well for that kind of play. Listen, this is another one. It is definitely a completely wide open race. I'm going to lean on number 4, Caribbean, as the top choice here. I don't love this horse. This horse has had some trouble finishing the job. But here's what I'll say about the setup of this race for the 4. It seems like a lone speed type of situation. I think the 4 gets out in front. I just don't see a lot of speed chasing him. I think Caribbean could get the trip today. So I put that horse on top. And of course, Diodoro and Cohen are two guys that you obviously don't have to worry about as far as connections go. I do like number 6 Proverb in second. Ricardo Santana picks up the mount here. Anytime Ricardo doesn't ride for Asmussen, and I know Asmussen doesn't have anything in here for him to ride, but still, you take notice because Ricardo can kind of pick and choose who he wants to ride at Oaklawn. This horse comes off a layoff, but that's all right. The horse runs pretty well, or in the past has ran pretty well off layoffs. I think he catches a pretty decent spot here. I think he can kind of be the one to sit in that 3rd, 4th spot and pounce late. So I liked Proverb as well for all those reasons. So yeah, for me, 4 and 6 were my top 2.
Yeah, I'm very, very similar. I used, again, every horse that Aaron mentioned. I used the 4, 6, 7, 9, but I also threw in the 2. I'll go through real quick. I think, you know what? I let Aaron pretty much talk about all of them. I do want to talk about the 2 All West. I don't know what to make of All West because at this level wasn't good. Well, wasn't great, I should say. It did lose to a horse named Lone Rock, and I think Lone Rock wasn't in the stakes race this past weekend, I believe. I have to look that up. Lone Rock, I think, ran in something much better, so that's fine. I don't know how much worse he is than a horse like Caribbean. Caribbean is a little bit more consistent, wins a little bit more. Caribbean actually lost to my horse at the waiver claiming 50,000 level, Rated R Superstar, who I absolutely loved a couple weekends ago. Couldn't get that one home, Rated R Superstar. It was a nice price nonetheless. Again, I don't think you can make a claim against any horse. I do want to say the one horse I don't like is the 3 Background. it kind of just looks at 34-1 that was a big boom type of race. I don't trust the 3 background to run that again. If you look at this horse's odds and the finishes, this horse hasn't been close in anything except last race, and took the field gate to wire. The possible he's better as a 4-year-old, sure. I don't believe that's going to be the case. I think you'd have to take a short price. Are you against the 3 background also?
Yeah, I don't have background in there at all. The other, we didn't talk about Defender. I used Defender, coming off of a win or, similar at this level last time out, and has won 2 of the last 3. So, but yeah, background, I think you're right. That seemed like an out of nowhere race. Could have just been the sloppy track, moved the horse up a little bit. I don't expect that horse to run back to that race. So yeah, I'm against that one. Quick note about the green light go. He will scratch. I do know that he's on the early scratch list.
Okay, so that kind of eliminates. I think that was Jared's comment.
Yeah,
and he said I like green light go. Green light go not going to be running, unfortunately. Yeah. Dennis real quick says, throw out the 8's last race. What has that horse done wrong? So I believe he's talking about the 8 Beaver Hat. Mm-hmm. Nothing really. I mean, you could make a case for Beaver Hat. I don't personally think that the speed ratings, the time form ratings came back quite where I would have liked to see. But I don't think you can make a case. Like, I'll take Beaver Hat over the 3 background, right? Like right now, straight up, I would do that. If they were just running against each other, I would definitely do that. So I don't hate that at all. I think, again, I use 5, so I think there are a lot of ways you could go. But what did you think of the 8?
I thought about the 8, Dennis, for a while. That's probably going to be the one that beats me, because it just seems to work out that way when I'm on the edge with one and I ended up not using it. It's a situation where you just can't use them all, and I threw that horse out. I think, Ricky, what you're saying was probably the biggest reason. He's just a tad slow on the time form speed figures compared to some of the other ones that I used. It's not a big gap though, and that's what worries you. If he was 10 points slower, then you wouldn't be quite as worried. But yeah, he's 4, 5 points slower than the ones we used, and that was kind of the separator here for me.
Let's go to so we're kind of on the same page. Let's go to the final race. That's race 9 on the card. Maiden special weight for Arkansas bred 3-year-olds and upward, going 6 furlong on the dirt. I put the 10 Goodnight Archie on top. I think this horse is probably more talented than what the results have to say. Finished 4th by 5 and 3rd by 7. Finished behind a horse named Tough Road Rules twice. That horse is not in this field, so I think we could kind of move him up a little bit. You could see, if you watch him run, he's kind of getting put to a test, and these fractions are a lot quicker than I think we're going to see today. In the debut, I think 21 and 3 is one of the fastest first fractions over a muddy track I've seen in quite some time. I mean, that's fast for a fast track. And then 22 flat next time out was on top, but not that close. I don't know if anyone really has enough speed to kind of keep up with this, to make this interesting. I'll talk about the 11, Bellamy's Roan. That's who I had in second. Showed some speed also at 102-1. Now we're going to move this horse up into maiden special weight class. I don't know if that's an overly confident move, if that's a move that doesn't really make sense. I have no idea, to be brutally honest, but I thought that was a horse that was interesting. And I did use one other as well. Aaron, who did you think? Who did you like in this race? I thought this was interesting from a few different angles.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Arkansas bred maiden special weight, so it's it is what it is, right? But I love these races, and I've watched most of these sires run in person several times, including the sire of the 10, who I put on top as well, Ricky. Arch, winner of an Arkansas Derby way back in the day. Good night, Archie, for me on top. And I kind of agree with you. And I kind of think this horse, I like early speeds in these Arkansas bred races. And this horse has it. So that's who I put on top. Overall, I went 2, 6, 8, 10 trifecta box here to round it out. So 10 and 6 were my top two. So I'll talk about the 6 real quick. I'm a bling cat. Look, first off, the claim for Federico Villafranco. So Danny Caldwell, the owner here, obviously sees something in this horse. I like that this horse almost won last time out. There's not a huge difference most times between Arkansas bred maiden claiming and Arkansas bred special weights. So I think this horse will move up just fine up the ladder. I didn't like that the horse was 3-1 morning line. I don't like the horse to bet a win wager at a short price, but I think he factors in here. Now, the 2 long shots that I used, the 8 Navy Seal, first time out over a sloppy track, showed nothing. But you look at the workouts, this horse seems to show a little bit of speed in the mornings. I think a fast track today, I'll give this horse one more shot. I think the price is going to be right. I know he's got your boy Burrell, who you was like, well, he can't win a race, but it is an Arkansas bred race. There's not great jockeys in here. So I'm gonna take a swing with the 8 Navy Seal. And then I think the 2 Zombie Lobo is interesting as well. This trainer has one first-time starter on his resume in the last year, and it was a win. So maybe he can do it again. I think 20-1 is extremely too high of a price for the 2 Zombie Lobos. So I'm just taking a shot, hoping this horse can run. It's got some pretty good breeding for going 6 furlongs. The works, again, for an Arkansas bred, they're not horrible. So I'm hoping the 2 can kind of catch a flyer as well. So anyway, 50-cent trifecta box, 2, 6, 8, 10 for me.
Yeah. I guess you could make the case for Zombie Lobo, but I was kind of impressed with the 10 and 11 a little bit. If I wasn't impressed with them at all, then first-time starters for me. I thought the 8 Navy Seal made sense. I don't know what that horse was doing. There's a horse, Molto Vivance, I don't know. Whatever the heck the name of the horse is, it's irrelevant. I saw him pop up in something else. I don't know where it was. I'm going to try to look that up right now, actually. I was really interested, and I think that horse might actually pop up in a stakes race. I'm going to try to delay my speaking while I look this up. I thought that race came back a little bit better, and it was over a sloppy track. I'm not really sure what we could make of the debut for Navy Seal. The only problem that I find myself running into is, why am I still betting Calvin Burrell? I mean, he's not even close. So I'm probably wasting some money, to be brutally honest. But I thought that horse was interesting. I'm going to look up now that the Molto Vivance horse as we're going to progress to our brackets. We never really got the chance I told Aaron we were going to try to show it for you guys. We're not going to do that. But I did pull up an empty bracket, so we're going to just walk through it really, really quick. I think thank you, Jared. Jared was right. I think that was the Jimmy Smoked Carrot. That's who he's talking about, who finished it off yesterday. But unfortunately, we're not going to recap because we have pretty much a hard out by 11:30, 11:35 or so. It's not really a hard out. It's just we want to go watch basketball. And we'll be watching horse racing and doing basketball stuff. So I don't think any of us will be doing a lot of work today. So we're going to show you a bracket. And what we're going to do, we'll just kind of walk through what we thought. This is it wide open. I can't really zoom in, unfortunately. If I zoom in, it's going to take us well out of it. I guess I could try and scroll. See, it doesn't really pop up well. So unfortunately, if you guys can't see it, I apologize. We'll start, Aaron. You could look at your bracket, obviously, on your own. And if you don't want to look at this one, I know it's a little small, and I apologize. We encourage you to look at your own bracket, maybe up front or on your screen. I'll go with mine first. We'll talk about each region. Let's give our Elite Eight picks first. I'll start in the Gonzaga region. I thought that one was a little bit chalky. I thought that was kind of where I thought Gonzaga's going to win the whole thing, and I don't really see any team that could beat them. If we look at the 3, 4, 5 seeds, which are Kansas, Virginia, and Creighton, I kind of think they all have the potential to lose, like very early on. So I'm not going to pick any of them, and I didn't really like any other team. Do keep an eye on Oregon. Who did you like in your Elite Eight coming out of the West region in the upper left?
Yeah, I put Gonzaga and Kansas. I did not think I would put Kansas that far, but I'm kind of with you. I kind of think they've taken, or they've gotten lucky with the draw. So yesterday I watched Drake and Wichita State. I was not impressed with either one of those teams. I don't really like USC. So I think Kansas gets to the Sweet 16 kind of by default. I'm not a huge Iowa Hawkeye fan. So I went Kansas and Gonzaga there in the first Elite Eight.
Yeah, I'm not a big Gonzaga fan either. To be brutally big Iowa fan, I gave them a lot of consideration against USC. I have USC beating Kansas, more so because I don't know who Kansas is going to be playing. In that, I don't know if they're going to get McCormick back and some of the. I think there's a few other guys that one's not even making the trip. I forgot off the top of my head. So I went USC, and they have Evan Mobley, who will probably be the second pick in the draft. So I thought that was enough. We'll get to the Final Four stuff after. Let's go to the South region. I went Baylor because I think their guard play is elite. When those three guards of Maceo T, Jared Butler, and Davion Mitchell play well, that is clearly the best trio of guards in the country. They are undersized. I wish they had like a Freddie Gillespie from last year who's not there anymore. But Flo Thamba and Mark Vital and Matt Meyer are probably enough size. And they have Jeremy Itachua-Chanwu. I think I said that properly. A big body, probably goes about 6'9". He plays center at times. I think that's enough for Baylor. And I absolutely love this Arkansas squad. I think they could score. This tournament is about guard play. And I think Arkansas guards, while they don't have the experience, they're extremely talented. When we talk about Ohio State, they have the experience. C.J. Walker, Dwayne Washington, and the crew. They have big boys, E.J. Liddell. It scared me last night because of the Big Ten. Again, I said it. If outside of Illinois, I don't trust anyone in that conference. I've said it before. Michigan State, they had a sizable advantage. You could see they could get whatever they wanted inside. And that's what I'm worried about with Ohio State. Can they get whatever they want inside? But I'm going to take Arkansas. So I went Baylor and Arkansas in that Elite Eight. Where did you go in the South region?
I went Baylor and I went Ohio State. I just think when it comes right down to it, the experience factor is going to come into play if it's Arkansas and Ohio State in the Sweet 16. I'm also worried a little bit. I have Arkansas beating Texas Tech, but I think that would be a tough matchup for Arkansas. But I'm with you. I like them a lot. I've watched them a lot. My family, a lot of my family are Arkansas fans and are very excited. And I think they're awfully good. But I think Ohio State beats them in the Sweet 16. So I went Baylor and Ohio State in this one.
Yeah, I don't think you could go wrong there. Some of the other teams, I'm not a big Purdue fan. If to be brutally honest, Purdue has a chance against Baylor, and this is why, because they play big, and Baylor doesn't play that way. I just don't trust their guards. So it's one of those situations. I don't trust the guards for Purdue. Not a ton of experience. Let's go to the Midwest. That's not the Syracuse region. That's the Illinois region with Syracuse in it. I went Illinois and West Virginia. I went back and forth, and I said, I don't love this conference. I really, really don't. But I think on West Virginia's best day, they are the second best team in the conference. Now, I know you don't love West Virginia. I think we would agree that Baylor is the best team in the conference. I don't think that's really up for debate. I looked at Houston, and they've gotten by Memphis barely, and they've lost to Wichita State. I think this Houston team, they play extremely slow. Everyone says they have a good defense. Yeah, when you play so few possessions, you're going to have a good defense. I kind of dove into that, and I said, I think this West Virginia team has one key factor, and that's Derek Culver. Derek Culver is a man amongst boys. It's going to be interesting when I have them play Illinois. We'll get to the Final Four, but Kofi Cockburn against Derek Culver is essentially two of the biggest guys pound for pound in this tournament. So I can't wait for that matchup. So I have Illinois taking on 3 seed West Virginia in the Elite Eight in the Midwest. Where did you go in the Midwest?
I got a little crazy with this one. I do not like West Virginia whatsoever. I think they get beat in the second round by San Diego State. Sorry, and it's your fault that I picked San Diego State.
I do like San Diego State. I do.
Well, listen, I told you, I said, I think Syracuse will win. You go look at the analytics, idiot. Like, they're not going to win. So, listen, I have San Diego State, Houston, Illinois, and Oklahoma State. I'm going to go Oklahoma State to upset Illinois. So that's kind of my longer shot in the Elite Eight, Oklahoma State, and I put Houston as well. So I think it's Oklahoma State and Houston in that region.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting because you went 2-4. And that segues me into the East. I went 2-4. I ended up with Alabama and Florida State. I have LSU beating Michigan early. Like that's where I think things get interesting. This Michigan team without Isaiah Livers doesn't have enough. I think LSU, they don't defend. But the problem with Michigan is they are good for a bad shooting game, a very, very, very high amount. Like this team without Isaiah Livers is not the best shooting team. I'm not sure if anyone on Michigan can guard any of these LSU guards. That's Trenton Watford. That's Cam Thomas. Eric Gaines can play as well. And Darius Days can bang with Hunter Dickinson. Darius Days literally looks like Derek Culver does. Not quite as tall. I think Alabama, though, I've been saying this for a long time. The fact they actually started guarding people makes them scary. So I'm going to go with Florida State to beat Colorado, which I don't think is a big matchup. But then I think they are going to suffocate LSU in terms of the amount of bodies they're going to throw. And Florida State can score. I'll take Alabama, led by Jaden Shackelford and John Petty. Javon Quinterly, the former Villanova transfer, is playing extremely well. Also, and they have a few big bodies. So I'm going to go a little dicey there. 2-4 Florida State and Alabama.
So here's the deal. I've watched LSU play a lot. I think they're one of the most talented teams in the country. Forget the SEC. Like I see a lot of talent in LSU. I also think they're very poorly coached. And that's just my opinion. That's just what it is, right? I am not, and I don't sit here and claim to be an expert. It's just what I see. So I think they win the first round game, but I do think Michigan will beat them. I've got Michigan because I don't love Florida State. I don't love Colorado. It could be Georgetown that they have to face in the Sweet 16. I do think Michigan's a little vulnerable. I have them going to the Elite Eight, though. I think Texas beats Alabama in the Sweet 16 in a classic game. I think these two teams are very, very good. I think it's a really good 2-3 matchup if that happens. I think Texas, I've watched a lot of them. They're very talented. Like they're the second most talented team in the Big 12, in my opinion. So, yeah, I put Michigan and Texas in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, in terms of guard play, Texas has some fantastic guards as well. Yes. Matt Coleman and Courtney Rainey and Andrew Jones. If you don't know anything about Andrew Jones, he is one of the best success stories in terms of, I think he was, I don't want to say it was leukemia. Maybe it was. Don't quote me on that. He was dealing with a massive, massive illness not too long ago, and he came back, and there's actually a video of him shooting a basketball in the hospital, and he looks like he weighs about 76 pounds, just to kind of see him where he is now. That team, they kind of feel like a feel-good story, not good feel, a feel-good story. Again, it comes down to guard play, though, because I think LSU has a ton of good guards. I also don't love Shaka Smart. Like, in terms of Shaka Smart versus Will Wade, I don't think it's a question. But I don't love Shaka. Like, I think Will Wade is one of the worst coaches. But he's recruiting kids. I don't know how it's happening. He had Naz Reid. He had Tremont Waters. He's had players there. And Cam Thomas is one of the best freshman scorers in the country. We have to move to our Final Four now. And then we're going to get into a couple bracket busters. Let's get into our Final Four first. We'll start on the left side. For me, it's Gonzaga and Alabama. I think this Alabama team and Nate Oates, I think Alabama has a coach. I'm being dead serious. Nate Oates is probably the best young coach in the country. Mm-hmm. And what I saw it at Buffalo. Buffalo played Syracuse and scored whenever they wanted, and it really became full force when they knocked Arizona off, and that had, I think, Alonzo Trier and DeAndre Ayton, and that was the Sean Miller team, and they ran Arizona off the floor. Now, back in, believe 2018, I love Nate Oates, and I think we're going to put Nate Oates into that Jay Wright, Calipari, not maybe on pedigree, but in terms of talent, where this team can go. I love Alabama. Gonzaga, Alabama on that side. What did you think on that side?
Yeah, I went Gonzaga. I just think they're too good. And I went Texas. I think Texas beats Michigan. I'm with you. If Alabama wins, I think if Alabama wins that Sweet 16 game, I think they are the team in the Final Four. So we're really not that far off. We just have a different opinion on that Sweet 16 matchup. But yeah, I'm with Texas and Gonzaga.
Yeah, for a lot of people are chiming in with Kansas. The reason I don't like Kansas, definitely not to this point, is because they don't have a true point guard. Marcus Garrett's been absolutely horrible this year. We thought he would be better. Mind you, folks, just a few years ago, they had Devon Dotson, who left, and Quentin Grimes. You know where Quentin Grimes is? Houston. You know where Houston is? They're a 2 seed. Quentin Grimes was the best thing that they've ever had, and they also lost an All-American Udoka Azubuike last year. I don't trust them at all. I absolutely love Gonzaga, and Aaron and I have talked about this for a long time. If Gonzaga doesn't win now, I'm not sure they're ever going to have a better chance with the whole COVID thing and things like that. On the other side, I kind of went chalk again. I went Baylor. I'm all in on this Baylor team. Again, when you take a look at everyone's best, like they're put their best game forward, Baylor's the second best team in the country. I don't know why we're kind of all over this. They are experienced. A lot of transfers. Scott Drew and Nate Oates must have talked a few years ago, because they've gotten transfers, they've gotten these kids to believe, and they've adopted this 3-ball method, and it's working. A lot of teams that are shooting the 3 and are efficient are playing well, and Baylor can play defense as well. Not as good as that they were earlier in the year. I love Baylor. And I went Illinois. I was scared with Illinois, though, because I know how Huggy Bear gets. That West Virginia team I love, and this is where the biggest difference between Aaron and I are. He doesn't like this West Virginia team, and I do. I still took Illinois, so we're a little different there. I don't think we're as different with the Kansas team, because we don't have Kansas going as far, but West Virginia will be the big thing. So I went Illinois, and I went with Baylor. Who did you go with on that side of the bracket?
I'm with you on Baylor. I could not go against Baylor. I think it's going to take a really, really good team to beat them. I've watched them a lot. I think people see them struggling a little bit late in the season, and they get a little worried. But I'm telling you, at their best, they're going to be tough to beat. I went Houston. I've liked this Houston team all year long. I think they're going to get there. And a lot of it is I don't like West Virginia, and it's not that I dislike Illinois, but I just think they're a little vulnerable. So I went Houston, Baylor and Houston, an old Southwest Conference matchup.
Real quick, before we get to our final national game selection, I kind of see this thing being a little bit chalkier than years in the past. I think these underdogs get into the moment where, like, when the crowd plays into it, there's not going to be a crowd. Like, the more neutralizing things you have, I think it's better for the favorites. Based on what I saw last night, except for that Michigan State game, I think the quality is a lot further down than we've seen in the past, which leads me to believe that the favorites are going to do better. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully, I hope my picks win on buzzer beater, so there's excitement. Aaron, final game, I went Gonzaga and Baylor. I've said it from day one. If you gave me Gonzaga or Baylor against the field, I would be running. And I noticed it right away. People have Kansas going to a Final Four or maybe an Elite Eight or whatever, Sweet 16. I said right away, I forgot who I told. I said when Gonzaga beat them by 20-something and they scored in the 90s, I said this might be the most talented college basketball team that I've ever seen. Now, don't look at it like a Kentucky when they had like Devin Booker and Anthony Davis, because that doesn't count. Those are like NBA level guys. I'm talking about in the moment, you have a top 5 pick. You have arguably the second best shooter in the country. I think the first best shooter is on San Diego State, and that's Jordan Shackle. The second best shooter in the country, and you have a legitimate pros. good luck beating Gonzaga. I have Gonzaga beating Baylor. Where did you go?
Exact same final game and exact same result. I'm with you, and I've watched Gonzaga a lot. And listen, I tend to root for Gonzaga because I really think Mark Few is one of the best. He deserves a national championship in my opinion, and I think he could get it. I'm with you. I think he's built quite a team. So yeah, I'm going to go Gonzaga on top. I'm with you on Baylor. I've always liked Baylor, all season long. This was a matchup that was supposed to happen earlier in the year, and because of COVID, it got canceled. So maybe we get it here. I think it'd be a hell of a game. Yeah, I'm with you. I've just been too high on Gonzaga now to go against them.
Yeah. No offense to anyone else watching or no offense to any other team, whatever. That is, if you want to talk about the best national championship on paper, it's these two teams. I don't care what anyone says. If you take their 100 game, their A++ versus each other, this is what we want to see. Aaron, let's go through each region and give me your bracket in terms of a bracket buster or a team to keep an eye on. I'll let you start first in the West. You don't have to tell me how far they're going, just maybe a team to keep an eye on.
The West, let me look here. I don't think I picked hardly any upsets in the West. I think if I was going to, I didn't pick any upsets in the West. In the first round, at least. I think the team I had was Drake. I thought Drake, but they looked horrible, I thought. So I can't go with them. Maybe Ohio. I think they draw a pretty tough game. But we don't really know what's going on with Virginia's COVID situation. So I think Ohio could be that team to pull the upset.
Yeah, I went with UCSB over Creighton just for a few different reasons. One, I think stylistically, UCSB can slow it down. The thing that people don't realize about Ohio, they do have a guy named Jason Preston. If you don't know about Jason Preston, he had to send in his own highlights to Ohio, and that's how he got recruited. So congratulations to him for making that work. That's a great story. He was like a blogger, and he sent in his own highlights, and they ended up recruiting him. The problem is they can get up and down, but Virginia will just suck the life out of you. And Virginia was playing pretty good basketball. It took a lot to beat a Syracuse team, and again, Syracuse deserves to be in this tournament. I'm not being biased. I went with UCSB because this Creighton team just seems like a mess. The way they played against Georgetown told me the Big East is horrible. Villanova should have won that conference if Colin Gillespie was healthy. So I'm taking a look there. If I had to take a team to keep an eye on, it's USC. I have USC going to the Sweet 16. I think they're going to beat Kansas. I think they're going to beat Drake, and I don't think it's going to be close. Kansas is actually going to have to face someone who's a legitimate All-American talent in terms of a big. Like Kansas usually doesn't have to do that. So I would say USC for me getting to the Sweet 16. What about for you, Aaron, in the South? Are there any upsets early on, or maybe a team to keep an eye on going to the Elite Eight or Sweet 16?
Yeah, I think Winthrop and North Texas. Those are my two teams that I think are gonna have great shots to win. Villanova because of the injuries, and I just don't like Purdue. So yeah, Winthrop and North Texas are my two teams in the South. And obviously if they both win, one of them is going to go to the Sweet 16. So yeah, I really like either one of those teams.
I took Winthrop as well. I do have Purdue getting by. There's a guy named Travion Williams. Travion Williams was absolutely dominant against Ohio State. He just didn't have enough firepower. It's weird. Ohio State comes in as a 2 seed and Purdue is a 4. And again, we talked about this before. Purdue was kind of the team that people never really talked about, right? It was like Ohio State, Michigan, even Michigan State because of Izzo and Illinois. And then there's kind of little old Purdue just winning games when they're supposed to, losing games they're supposed to lose. I went pretty chalky, but I do think Purdue kind of getting to the Sweet 16 seems like not like an underdog type of pick. Keep an eye on Villanova too. I have them losing, but they're still extremely talented. I know they don't have a point guard, and Justin Moore has been struggling, but just keep an eye on them. I went with Utah State also over Texas Tech. Aaron and I talked about it. They rely way too much on Mac McClung, and the problem with Texas Tech is they're never going to score enough where you feel confident. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be in every game, and unfortunately, you have to live through that because if you could get to 65 or 70 on Texas Tech, you got a good shot, and I don't care who you are.
Yep.
I like Mac McClung. not the best guard in the country. And again, I have Arkansas going to my Elite Eight, so that's a team that I would keep an eye on. How about the Midwest? Anyone in the Midwest that tickled your fancy a little bit?
Well, what about Loyola Chicago? Sister Jean back in the tournament. I don't know, man. Maybe they could, Illinois versus Loyola Chicago second round game. I have Illinois winning, but that'd be interesting, right? That's a very interesting game if that happens. I also like Oklahoma State quite a bit to win more than they should. I know that wouldn't be an upset in the first or second round, but I think they can get to the Elite Eight. Honestly, dude, I'm really not like trying to be nice to you here, but if Syracuse can win this first game, I think they're going to win the second game. I really do. I think their challenge is going to be the first one. But if they win, I think they could get to the Sweet 16.
Syracuse is one of those teams because they score. In years past, it was about the zone, right? And I don't think it is about the zone this year. That's why I'm not as high on them. This is one of the few teams in a long time that actually I feel confident can score 70. When I went to the Sweet 16 with them, we played Duke. It was Marvin Bagley, Wendell Carter, Grayson Allen, Gary Trent, Trey Duval. That was the starting five. It was like we got to pray that we could hold them to 65. Like, we got to pray. And I think they scored like 72. And against that Duke team with pros, wasn't that bad, all things considered. This San Diego State team, boy, is tough. And I'll be honest, I'm still going back and forth. Can San Diego State beat West Virginia? Yeah, I think they can.
I do too.
And can San Diego State beat Houston? Yeah, I think they can. And I'm very, very close to making the switch because I think San Diego State and West Virginia are better than Houston. I think again, whoever that play Houston, I think they're going to lose. I'm still on the West Virginia side, but I could see San Diego State getting to an Elite Eight. And again, this might be their year like it is Gonzaga. No true upsets. No one's talking about Tennessee. Not one team. And I don't get it. If that team can score 70, good luck scoring on them because they are the only team in the SEC that wants to play any sort of defense except for Kentucky, and Kentucky can't score, and they were horrible. So just keep an eye on Tennessee. You're right about Loyola Chicago too. Them as an 8 seed, that's really unfortunate because they are better than an 8 seed. It's just a resume thing for them. Let's go to the final region, the East region. I'll go first because I talked about it already. Florida State and Alabama. I have LSU. I have them beating Michigan because if they get hot, if LSU gets hot, I think they're a Final Four team. Like, that's how good they are offensively. Their problem is they're also going to give up 90. So I think LSU is the key to the region. They might score 50 one day and just not be able to shoot. So I have no idea. And again, Will Wade making in-game adjustments is like me riding Code of Honor. It's like stupid. It's horrible. It would be a horrible move. LSU and Florida State is my matchup to watch. What about you? Are there any upsets you were interested in? Maybe UCLA beating BYU?
Yes, I do have UCLA beating BYU. I think this is the potential region to just have chaos because I agree that LSU has that potential. I think Georgetown is kind of sneaky only because I don't really like Colorado that well. I think Georgetown can upset them. And then I know you're kind of higher on Florida State, but I don't love Florida State either. So I thought Georgetown had some potential. Obviously, UCLA. I think you talked about Maryland. I think they've got some potential to make some noise. This could get wild. Out of all of them, I think this is the one that really could get wild. And I think that a big key is the potential of UCLA to lose tomorrow, or not UCLA, LSU to lose tomorrow, which I think there's a chance, or get to the Final Four. I mean, I really think they could go either way. It's just going to be what wins out. Is it talent that wins out here? If it is, they've got a shot. So, yeah, this one's wild. But for me, I got UCLA winning. I've got Georgetown winning. I've got Maryland winning. Yeah,
the thing with Colorado, there's one guy to keep an eye on, and that's McKinley Wright. You want to talk about point guards. I think he's like 47, still playing college basketball. He just does everything for that team. And you know what's kind of funny? We talk about like these 12-5 games and everyone's taking Georgetown. If you get the Colorado thing right, that's almost like an underdog at this point because a lot of people are taking Georgetown. I think this could get wacky. Again, I have 2-4. LSU, they could play a bunch of teams that want to play defensively. Michigan wants to play defensively at times. Florida State wants to play you defensively. Colorado would want to play you defensively. Alabama's probably the only team that wouldn't want to play you defensively. And I would take an LSU-Alabama rematch right now because I said at the beginning when we did this, and I told you off air, the SEC is going to come out of this as the best conference. I fully believe that. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to win the whole thing. But if they get a Final Four team, and that's Alabama, and you see a nice performance from LSU, and Tennessee plays well against Illinois, Arkansas can get to a Final Four, maybe. I think that's going to be what we have. But at the end of the day, all that to say, we have Gonzaga. We both have Gonzaga. That is the best team. I've been saying it for months when they beat Kansas a long time ago, and then they wiped Iowa, I think in like North Dakota State or South Dakota State in a neutral floor, wiped them, and that's a 2 seed. They've rolled through the field. Any final thoughts before we log off here? We've been on for about an hour and 15 minutes. Any final thoughts about horse racing or the brackets, anything like that?
Yeah, I was going to throw up that here's Jared's Elite Eight because he's been so the challenge is on. If he gets 7 out of these 8 right and then all 4 of the Final 4 right, he gets to come on the show. So Gonzaga, USC, I'm going to write these down. Florida State, Texas, Baylor, Arkansas, Houston, and Illinois. Okay, we've got them. That's the final answer. There's no changing now.
Yeah, that's it. Everyone, good luck today with your brackets. Good luck playing the ponies. We were able to bring in a pick 5 yesterday at Oaklawn Park. Didn't pay a lot, but again, someone messaged me and said, it's not about the prices. It's about getting the winners, and the prices will kind of sort themselves out. Yep. And I couldn't agree more. Aaron has Missouri Valley Power. Yes, that is some of his local area teams and things like that, the Midwest. For me, it was Tom Izzo just getting into Gabe Brown last night. I thought that was awesome. For people who said it was too much, enough already with the too much. It's called hard coaching. He wasn't beating him up. It was hard coaching. How about this? Maybe they should have just won the game in regulation, and it wouldn't have been a big deal. Congrats to Mick Cronin and the crew. And I think a lot of people are going to be on UCLA. We've seen that 11-6 team move on. The other 11 team was Drake. And I think a lot of people said, well, if I kind of have to pick one, I'm probably going to take UCLA at this point. I am as well. Aaron is also. Again, big day tomorrow with the fairgrounds, horse racing and college basketball all over the place. It's an absolutely fantastic weekend of sports. Again, maybe if we can, Aaron and I will talk about it. Maybe we'll come on and do a little Monday show of what we've seen in the tournament. It won't be horse racing, I guarantee. Well,
just to interrupt for a second, I will come on Monday, but I will not be sitting at this desk because Monday is opening day at Will Rogers Downs. So,
no college basketball for you on Monday?
Well, I'll have to watch it on my phone because it's opening day at Will Rogers Downs, and the forecast calls for a lot of rain, so that'll be fun. But anyway, I will be there.
Yeah, so all right. So maybe I'll have Mike Samich on or something, and we'll see. We'll try to figure it out. No, just because I know you'll be with your dad and you'll be at the track, it'll be a little bit more difficult. We'll see.
You don't want to have myself and Papa Dude on? I mean.
Well, no, it's not that. It's just a matter of if you're going to be blurry or not. We have that enough when Dr. Miranda comes on. We can't see or hear her ever. Or maybe we'll do Monday night. Maybe we'll do it during like some tournament. We'll figure it out. We'll try to do that, or maybe like a Tuesday morning or a week of recap. We'll figure it out. Again, good luck to everyone. Horse racing and college basketball. If you haven't taken the time off, try to. Luckily, Aaron's let me kind of do my own schedule, so I'll be doing work tonight around 2 a.m. so I can watch games this weekend. Again, good luck. Check out racingdudes.com for all of your fairgrounds coverage. Again, plenty of stakes races and action across. And college basketball starts in about 27 minutes on CBS. I think Florida and Virginia Tech are the first game. So everyone tune in. College basketball and horse racing. Have TVG up. Have your wagering site up. There's nothing wrong with making a little money on a long 4-day weekend. Everyone stay safe, stay healthy, and we will see you guys for sure next Wednesday, maybe sooner. We'll try to plan it out. Take care, everyone.